Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and once again I'm here with Landon and Chandra, where we're talking about aspects of old homes versus new homes and the changing of the requirements, both through an engineering and the products that are used in the home. So we've talked about the 3-point system, the tie-down system. Let's talk roofing.
Okay.
And because you and I have talked quite a bit about different ways, and I've said if you can seal the roof and the roof stays intact, you're in good shape because you don't have water in your house. And when you get water, Landon, you did a bunch of repairs after Burl on water, and it was wind-driven rain.
Yep.
And so let's talk a little bit about that, different aspects, how we can stop that, or things that we can do to help minimize it.
Okay. Well, one of the first things that we do on our end is we use the force field product that we've talked about on here numerous times from GP, and that is literally it has a baked-on system to it, so that already has protection on top of the OSB, and then we tape it and seal it all up. Then we come back over the top of that with synthetic underlayment, and then any valley, shed roof dormer, anything like that, we go back with ice and water shield in there. So that's essentially what I consider to be our fail-proof system. We're going above and beyond what the minimal standards are. You know, one of the things that Aaron and Franklin started doing, you can answer about how far back is making sure that the sheathing pattern is now nailed down in a proper form. The synthetic underlayment, they now have a nailing pattern that they like to see.
So even the felt paper or whatever you use has a certain
It used
nailing.
to just be real generic.
Yeah, very generic.
Very generic, like 30-pound felt, just minimum per code, which was barely held on. And now it's actually got a tested nailing pattern that we're enforcing.
Yeah. So and so I don't have a lot of people will have a problem with it because it's not what they were doing before, or now they're having to provide pictures of this. It really doesn't bother me because we already have another system down below it. So I'm good either way. We've got the layering system, and it's added protection for these homeowners. I always talk about, I don't worry about energy. Some people want to use Tech Shield up on the decking. I don't really so much worry about the energy savings that way. We can get energy savings other ways. I'm more worried about keeping the outside element outside and not inside the house. And we did that over at the GP project over here in Waterways, where we were inside that house and we were completely sealed, and it was raining and there's no water coming inside the house.
And there are no shingles on the roof?
No shingles on the roof, nothing there.
That's the thing. You should be able to have no shingles on your roof, no roof covering at all, and your underlayment should prevent that water infiltration.
That's what it's there for.
That's what it's there for, and the flashing.
Yep.
The two things that you've got to have done well, and this is where you're picking a quality contractor makes a difference, is that flashing and waterproofing, especially on the roof systems, and the wall systems too, but and around the windows and doors. But really, the roof is the primary.
The roof is the primary.
Because,
that's where the water's coming in.
That's where you get so much damage, and so much your contents get damaged, and everything else.
Take Burl for example. What do we have? Sustained 70s was the highest.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was there for 8 to 10 hours. But there were so many houses that just had lifted shingles, or they had shingles that were pulled back on a ridge or something like that. And if it's not done correctly, that's where the water penetration is going to be, is where those two seams come together. If that underlayment's not installed correctly, whatever the case may be, that's your water, that's where your seepage is coming down. And so
you can save a whole lot of damage to a house.
By doing it correctly? Yeah, you could.
I mean, it's just, it's one drip, or something. But and then if you're not down here, you don't open the house up, power's out, and then you're getting mold and mildew and stuff in there. And so if you can keep your roof intact, and even if the shingles are gone, if the underlayment keeps the water out, you're good.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
And the other thing is, repairs, I mean, right after a storm, you have material shortages, you have labor shortages. You may or may not be able to get people down here to do the work. Insurance claims haven't been settled yet. It may take 3-6 months. You don't want to be sitting there with no roof on for 3 or 6 months. Plus, you don't want to pay that high upcharge for getting someone from out of the area to come in and bring those products in. So if you can at least have your watertight system on there for a while, until you can get a reasonably installed, good quality roof that's actually going to last you 15, 20 years like it should, that's ideal.
Well, and like during Burl, I know Landon I can remember our phone conversations. You were trying to get back down here, and you had tarps and stuff in case someone needed something. Dave did some recordings where he had the roof looked fine when it was all said and done, but during the storm, the shingles had lifted up and bent over, which makes a weak point.
That's right.
You know, and if he wouldn't have had that video, he would have never known that, because they looked fine whenever you went out and looked at it. And so, you know, having a roof that's sealed, a contractor that cares, both in the construction of it and the after, because you were looking at homes that they had closed on and everything.
We looked at, I mean, we obviously drove around and looked at all of our properties that we had under
Right.
construction at that time, which was like 10. And we were all good there as far as roofs were concerned. We had no problems. A couple lifted shingles on a ridge or something like that, tack back down, you're good. But we looked at a ton of houses. We did probably 15 to 20 roof repairs or
Right.
new roofs for people. And it all came back to, you know, they're having to put tarps over the top of things. But if you have, you know, a product like force field on there and it's sealed up correctly, and then you have the underlayment on there correctly, like installed like the engineer asked for it to be, you're not going to have to worry about those items, water getting in between there, because you have all the protection you need right there.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
and one of the problems too is that, you know, that's what you're doing is above and beyond code.
Yeah,
So, you know, the code requires a minimum.
a minimal.
A minimum, and that's what all I can enforce. So if the contractor wants to use a minimum,
Yeah.
it's still compliant,
It
but you're
is.
not going to get that layer of protection.
Right.
Yeah,
that
you're gonna have blue tarps everywhere.
You're going to have a blue tarp.
You're gonna have
That's
blue
right.
tarps because it was done
Because
at the
shi-
minimal standard.
The shingles
Well-
will lift, and you will have that underlayment rip off.
Yep.
And even if we nail it the way we
Still
were
gonna-
talking about,
still gonna
it's
rip.
still going to rip off. So.
And that's what comes back to Prestige custom homes.
Yeah.
You know, a custom home builder typically, I can't speak for all of them, but typically are going to go above and beyond, because it is a custom build both outside and inside. And so, and that's one thing I've noticed about Landon's homes, the little things here and there that typically you don't see that's standard. You know, you have your standard siding, your standard roof, which is above engineering standards. So, well, we've covered the front doors, the windows. Now we've covered the roof. We're going to be back next week, but you're going to have to watch and see what we talk about next. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye. Video equipment is sponsored by Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.